We're always told that big tech is this cutthroat war zone, right? Where these giants are in a constant battle to the death. But what if that's not the real story? What if the biggest secret in the industry is that these rivals are actually each other's most important partners? Let's dive in. Right? We always picture it as this battlefield, a zero-sum game where one company's victory has to be another's defeat, especially in tech. But is it really that simple? What if the biggest players are kind of secretly making each other stronger?
Okay, so the key to unlocking this whole idea is something called an interdependent ecosystem. It sounds a little academic, I know, but the idea is actually simple. It's a system where one company getting bigger doesn't just steal business from everyone else. Instead, it actually creates new opportunities that help its competitors grow too. It's not a fight, it's symbiotic.
So, here's how we're going to break this all down. First, we'll get into the surprising secret itself. Then, we'll see it in action with 4 key examples, from the AI boom and the dominance of Windows to the cloud market and even a wild alliance with Apple. After that, we'll connect all the dots.
All right, let's get right to the heart of it. The big secret is that these companies aren't really gladiators in some zero-sum game. It's more like they're partners in a complicated dance, where one company's move actually enables the next move for another. Now, don't get me wrong, they absolutely compete for our money and for the best engineers. But their technologies and market strategies are so tangled up that one company's success often becomes the foundation for another's. Let's look at our first and maybe the biggest example.
First up, the AI revolution. I mean, it is the story in tech right now. And holding it all up, a super powerful partnership between Microsoft, the software and cloud giant, and nvidia, the undisputed king of computer chips.
And this isn't some small-time relationship. To power its massive ambitions with its Azure cloud and its huge partnership with OpenAI, Microsoft has become what you could call a super buyer. They are buying NVIDIA's high-end GPUs on a scale that is just mind-boggling.
This is a perfect two-way street. It's a total win-win. Microsoft absolutely needs NVIDIA's advanced chips to power the future of AI. For NVIDIA, that means billions and billions in revenue. At the same time, Microsoft's dominance in PC and Xbox gaming creates this massive, steady demand for NVIDIA's consumer graphics cards. One company's ambition is literally fueling the other's bottom line.
Now, this whole dynamic extends to the operating system on most of our computers. I want you to think of Microsoft Windows not just as software, but as this giant digital stadium where other huge companies come to play. The logic here is super simple but incredibly powerful. First, Microsoft's Windows OS runs the global PC market. It's just everywhere. And what do people do on those PCs? Well, they use services from Google and Meta. So that means a healthy Windows ecosystem is a direct pipeline for its competitors' revenue. It's kind of wild when you think about it.
Let's look at the actual details. For millions of people, the default way to get on the internet is through Google Chrome on a Windows machine. The main way to find information is Google Search on that same machine. And in the corporate world where Windows absolutely rules, Meta services like Facebook, Instagram, and WhatsApp are a constant presence. Microsoft basically builds the stage, and Google and Meta are the star performers.
Okay, next up, let's head to the cloud. Here, Microsoft's Azure is in what looks like a fierce battle with Amazon's AWS and Google Cloud. But even here, competition doesn't really tell the whole story.
You've heard that old saying, right? A rising tide lifts all boats. It perfectly captures what's going on. Every single time Microsoft signs a huge new client to its Azure cloud, it's not just a win for Microsoft, it's a win for the entire idea of cloud computing.
A key trend driving this is what's called the multi-cloud strategy. See, big companies get nervous about putting all their eggs in one basket. So when Microsoft convinces a really cautious industry, like finance or government, to finally move to the cloud, that company will almost certainly use AWS or Google Cloud for other services too, just to spread out the risk.
The bottom line is this: Microsoft's aggressive push into the cloud doesn't just steal market share, it dramatically grows the entire pie. It builds trust, it speeds up adoption, and it creates bigger opportunities for everyone, including its main rivals. Now for what might be the most surprising partnership of all, especially if you remember their historic rivalry. For decades, it was Microsoft versus Apple, PC versus Mac. It was the tech world's biggest feud. But today, the reality is very, very different.
Let's rewind a bit. For a long time, Apple's beautiful hardware had this one big weakness in the corporate world. The perception was crystal clear. If you needed to do real work with spreadsheets and documents, you had to get a PC, because Microsoft Office just didn't work well on a Mac. But then, a massive shift happened.
Microsoft moved its entire Office suite to the cloud with Office 365, and they made a huge strategic decision to fully support Apple's hardware. Suddenly, Excel, Word, and PowerPoint worked flawlessly on Macs, iPads, and iPhones.
And the effect was profound. This move was a total game changer for Apple, erasing the single biggest objection to using its devices in the business world. Microsoft's software basically gave Apple's hardware the official stamp of approval for business, and that directly contributed to a massive surge in Apple's corporate sales.
So, let's bring all of this together. What we're seeing isn't a simple battlefield. It's a complex ecosystem of frenemies. Companies that are at the very same time each other's biggest competitors and most crucial partners. Let's just look at the scorecard. For nvidia, Microsoft is the #1 customer driving the AI boom. For Google and Meta, Microsoft provides the digital arena, Windows, where their services thrive. For its cloud rival Amazon, Microsoft is a running mate, helping to grow the whole market. And for Apple, its old nemesis, it's the software partner that made the Mac a legitimate business machine. In every single case, the rival directly benefits from Microsoft's success. And that is the big secret, right there. It's this powerful cycle of symbiotic growth. The whole narrative of a zero-sum game is pretty much a myth. The reality is this deeply interconnected web where one company's expansion creates the very platforms, markets, and demand that its competitors need to thrive. It's a powerful model for growth, no doubt, but it also raises a really fascinating question for the future. If their fortunes are this closely tied together on the way up, what happens if one of them stumbles? If they're all rising together, could they also fall together? Now that's something to think about. Thanks for tuning in.